Hello, well, welcome to our unit on genetics and meiosis. We're going to start today by going over some vocabulary terms, and we're going to look at how genetic counseling can look at the chromosomes and see if everything is okay. This might occur during a pregnancy or during a child's life if they need to figure out if there is something wrong with the chromosomes. So let's start by just reminding ourselves what we have studied. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, we looked at mitosis. And mitosis, remember, made mitose. And so mitosis was this process of cell division that occurs when we just wanted to replace the cells and make more cells. And the most important thing about mitosis is that when we start with 46 chromosomes, we ended up with 46 chromosomes. We ended up with basically a copy of our cells. But what we want to switch to is a new type of cell division that creates the reproductive cells, the egg and the sperm cells, because those are going to be the ones that allow for reproduction. If you are planting seeds for a spring garden, or you are getting a puppy for your family or a kitten, well, of course, that occurred because of sexual reproduction, the egg and the sperm cells fertilizing. So by the end of today, by the end of this video, we'll be just touching on how that occurs. But what we want to first go over is how we can identify and observe the different chromosomes in the cells. So let's go ahead and switch to the next one. And let me go ahead and present this for us so you can see it a little bit bigger. Reminder of a term that we already learned, that would be diploid. Cells that have two sets of chromosomes are called diploid. Now, if you actually look at a cell under metaphase, you can actually see the chromosomes, and you can actually then take a picture and sort them. We can do this by using computers now, but we used to have to do it analog, old school, cut them and line them up. And what we end up getting is something called a karyotype. And a karyotype is a picture, an image of all of the chromosomes lined up together. Now, you'll notice over here, this is a cartoonish view of two chromosomes. And notice what's similar about these chromosomes. They have the same length. They have the same size and banding patterns, meaning they stain the same way. These are called homologous chromosomes, and homologous chromosomes have the same genes. And because they have the same genes, they are the same length, they have the same staining due to those same genes. Now, the stains do not correlate to genes, right? It's just regions of the chromosomes that tend to hold color differently. So just to review the terms that we already know, each one of these would be a chromosome. There's one chromosome, there's another chromosome. And then in the chromosome, they have sister chromatids that are exact copies. And the pair would be the homologous pair, or sometimes they're called tetrads for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can see on this karyotype, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, up to 15. And then we've got up to 22, and then the X and the Y. Now, all of these pairs are homologous pairs. So chromosome 2 would have the same genes on the one on the left and then the one on the right. Now, they can have different variations. So, for instance, the gene for hair color, well, you might have on one homologous chromosome the gene for brown hair, and then on the other chromosome the gene might be black hair. So you can have different variations, but they're both going to be about hair color. And so each one of these pairs is a homologous pair. And so when you are sorting through these, it would be very important for a cell to get one of each chromosome. Now we're going to take a look at the karyotypes in a couple of activities that you're going to be responsible for. But let's go over a couple more terms. Now, if you look at the chromosomes in a human karyotype, chromosomes 1 through 22 are not dictating biological sex. And so we call those autosomes. Those are non-sex chromosomes. Those would be 1 through 22. The sex chromosomes would be 23, the X and the Y. Now here, these are both X chromosomes, so that would be a biological female. And then if you had an X and then a small y, we'd have a male. And so in a human, we have 23 pairs of chromosomes. Now, what you're going to do, you're going to take a few minutes to practice this by clicking an activity, clicking a link and getting to this activity. You're going to scroll down, click the arrow, and you're going to match the chromosomes. Now, they've got one set already outlined for you, but you're going to look for the homologous pair. This is like a game of memory when you were a little kid. You're trying to find the one that matches. Now, when you find the one that matches, if it's correct, it'll stick. And so look for the same length and same banding pattern for all of these chromosomes. Now, if you don't have it correct, it will just bounce back. So I'm pretty confident this is not chromosome 7. It's not the same size. So I'm going to use it for the example of what it's going to do when it's incorrect. This is going to bounce back. So you'll be able to get them all correct. You'll be able to sort them out. It gets a little tricky on kind of the third and fourth rows because some of them look very close. There is a hints. If you click the hints, it'll give you the silhouette to look for, which that's fine if you need it. You can do that. So when you're done, what you're going to do is take a screenshot of your page that you just did, the karyotype. And I've got shortcut here for your Chromebook for how to take a screenshot, and then you're going to upload it to this page. If you have any problems, just let us know. And then now we're going to play the role of a genetic counselor. Now, there's a video that you guys can watch, so you can pause my video, watch this one together, and then come back. And so she ended with a genetic counselor, like how would you look at that? And so you're going to play a role of that. You're going to try and do that. So just some terms for you to know. Monosomy would be if you're looking at some of these karyotype and you notice that one chromosome of a pair is missing. A trisomy, tri meaning 3, trisomy is when you have 3 chromosomes when there really should just be a pair. You can also have additions, meaning chromosomes can have extra pieces. This happens because chromosomes can be somewhat fragile and they can break off and then attach to a place where they shouldn't. And then you can also have deletions. So let me give you a brief example. One trisomy that you might be pretty familiar with would be Down syndrome. And if we take a look at the karyotype of somebody with Down syndrome, you'll notice that at chromosome 21, they actually have an extra. And so we would call this a trisomy, and it's trisomy 21. Notice here, this is a boy, so he has an X and a Y chromosome. And there's your example. Another example of a Klinefelter would be, another example of a trisomy would be Klinefelter syndrome, where there's an extra X chromosome in a male. So this would be XXY. And as you can imagine, that's going to cause some problems because the body's getting conflicting signals. And in fact, the babies born with Klinefelter syndrome, they are born physically male, but they are not getting the signals to produce sperm cells, so they're sterile. So they have X, X, and then an extra Y down here. So that is a trisome. Now, so you're going to have a chance to do this. You're going to evaluate 3 patients, and these 3 patients, I'll give you a clue. One of them does have Down syndrome, and one of them does have Klinefelter's. And so you're going to get a chance to figure out which one's which. Now, when you do this, there's going to be one of the things I want you to do is explain the notation of the karyotype that you find. And so the way you write the notation for a karyotype, you write the number of chromosomes, and then whether or not it's an XX or an XY, whether or not you have a girl or a boy, and then whether or not there are any abnormalities. Now, so for instance, for me, I have 46 chromosomes and I am XX. So that's how I would write my karyotype. For somebody who is trisomy 13, you would write 47 because they've got an extra chromosome, XX, they're a girl, or XY if they're a boy, and then you would write plus 13 because they've got an extra 13. Now, how do you know? Well, that's what you're going to find out. So for this activity, you're going to click on the link here. You can read over your introduction. You guys can read it together. You're going to click on patient histories, and you'll read through each patient, and then you'll complete patient A and patient B and patient C. Now, the way to do this is they've given you a chromosome over on the left, and you want to find which one it matches. If you think it looks like chromosome 2, click on the highlighted blue number. If you're correct, it's going to allow you to move forward. If you don't do it correctly, it'll gently remind you. So, for instance, this one is clearly not matching number 5, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. And notice it'll tell you, try again. Now, the only exception to this would be if it's an X or a Y chromosome, Y is significantly shorter than X. So just watch out for that. And when you're done with each one of them, you're going to put the 2 answers for each patient in the next 2 slides. And then the last part is just to look at some chromosome genetic diseases that we already know about. So pick on this website, just pick one of the chromosomes here. For instance, chromosome 15. I'm just going to pick one that seems interesting. For instance, here's one of the genes for eye color on gene 15. So, oh, hey, and they've already updated this. Look at that, human coronavirus sensitivity. So they already suspect that one of the genes that makes you more sensitive to the coronavirus might be on chromosome 15. So all I'd like you to do for that slide is tell me what chromosome and then what the genetic disease is. And just pick 6 of them that you find kind of interesting. So that is it for the karyotype activity that will explain, that hopefully should explain what you're going to do.